Jason, welcome.
Thank you.
As always, the market's usually.
Green jacket for a green day. 1 basis point to the positive still counts. I figured I'd start with a check that is in the mail. Shutter Downs does intend to be the kind of the primary sponsor for the golf outing. Again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I'm now going to use more golf balls because it's at Cranberry Highlands than at Shanapin. I find it easier to find my golf ball at Shanapin than in the fescue at Cranberry Highlands. So thank you to whoever is going to make me lose more $4 golf balls. But no, very excited to continue that partnership. It'll be fun, and Shutter Downs looks forward to seeing everyone out there.
Thank you.
It'll be a good time. Cranberry Highlands is a wonderful course. So the numbers that I sent Kathy in May have actually gotten better. Both portfolios were right around a little bit over 3%. Now they're both over 4%. The police plan is up another $66,000 this month. The general employees is up another 22. So continuing to grow, and I think in a way in a volatile market where the S&P 500 is up about 1%. We're up. Both of our plans are up 4. I think we've done that from a position of strength. I believe in the meeting that I zoomed into in early May, we talked about some of the money that we put to work during we'll call it kind of the tariff tantrum. The broader market from the time that the tariffs were announced through yesterday is up 5%. Some of the money that we put to work is up over 20%. So when you're dealing from a position of strength, fully funded plans, you're able to take a more longer term perspective and put more money to work. And I think that's what we've done. It's not to say that we don't expect more volatility ahead. We think that there's still, we're not out of the woods yet, but we do feel like we were able to be opportunistic, put some money to work, and find ourselves in a position where if you have bonds are up 2, the U.S. equities, when you think large, mid, and small are kind of down about 1%. When we combine the entire equity complex, we like where we're at. And part of the reason we are where we are from a performance perspective is that we've really leaned into our international exposure. So our non-US, we've talked about this I think at the last, probably the last 18 to 24 months. And that's done really well for us. The non-US exposure is up around 15% year to date. And there's a couple reasons for that. From an investment perspective, investors are now realizing that kind of the US market's been on a 15-year run of just being extraordinary returns. If the average return in the S&P is roughly 10%, for the 10 years ending in 2024, we were like at 15. It had run hot. It's not to say that we're not going to get any positive returns out of US equities, but there was a reversion to the mean aspect where valuations got cheap. They paid better dividend yields in the international market, and the international kind of central banks finally started to cut interest rates. And if you follow the president's Twitter feed, you know that they're cutting interest rates because it's a point of contention between the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is staying put and kind of monitoring the effects of this reconciliation bill that's in front of us, and then the effects of kind of tariff implementation. So whereas the U.S. for the last 10 to 15 years had very low interest rates, very low inflation, we're having, we don't have the lowest interest rates anymore. We don't have the lowest inflationary numbers anymore. And I think the U.S. market or the non-U.S. markets are starting to take advantage of that. The last piece of this, and really the big catalyst for the outperformance, has been the decline in the value of the U.S. dollar. If you think about international equities, and if you think about currencies as somewhat of a zero-sum game, the U.S. dollar is appreciating. A basket of major currencies, think like the Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, the euro, they would be necessarily going down, that basket versus the dollar. When the dollar is weakening, they're appreciating. So that's been I think a lever from the international side that has been very good for performance. I think the last piece of performance that we have that I think is unique to our portfolios is we have a manager that invests in high quality stocks, like just about like Colgate. I think it might shock some people. It certainly shocked me to know that Colgate has never not had over 51% of the global toothpaste market. In like literally since 1970, Colgate's always had over 50%. They own high quality stocks, and then on top of that, things like Colgate, they also own, kind of what I would consider to be critical companies to global growth, like Oracle. They also own energy companies. They kind of own a little bit of everything. And then in addition to that, they have about a 20% position in gold bullion and gold miners. So the mining companies that are bringing the gold off out of the ground. Gold miners are roughly up around 50% year to date, and physical gold bricks are up around 25%. The way that I look at that from an investment perspective, as the dollar, the two risk haven assets, right? So when risk is when risk is elevated, when there is worry in the market, when there's volatility in the market, for the last 15 or 20 years, you bought the US dollar, you bought US treasuries. That was what you bought. Now we're in this period of economic reorganization where we're rethinking how we do things globally, reorienting things. And it's not to say that the dollar is still not the reserve currency of the world. It is. We still have the most dynamic economy in the world, but the premium that investors placed on those assets has gone down over the last 9 to 12 months in a way that I think reflects two things. One, the sheer amount of debt that we have on our balance sheet, $37 trillion. The previous administration to the Trump administration, the Biden administration, the way that they structured their treasury auctions, which is kind of getting minute, but we have a lot of treasuries that are coming due, and we're not being able to issue them at 1 or 2%. They're getting issued at 4%. So I think the investor community is taking a look at that and saying, okay, well, the US dollar and the treasury, while still being pretty good assets, they're not the highest premium assets that we're looking for when risk goes off the table. So you're getting people very interested in gold. I think it's been a very good piece of our portfolios. That manager roughly represents 6 to 8%, 8% for the police, a little bit less for the general employees due to kind of the risk profiles of those. But we've had a lot of really good returns outside of the U.S. Our fixed income has been very good. We came in a little bit more conservative, so we didn't have a lot of exposure to a lot of the rate volatility that we've seen, which has been helpful. And our exposure to real assets, things like infrastructure, farmland, and timberland have been very good. So overall, to be able to stand here in front of you guys, as of May, we were up a little bit over 3%. As of yesterday, we were up a little bit over 4% for each net of all fees. Given where markets are, we're pretty happy.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Any questions for Jason? Jason, I wanted to ask, like, yours or Steiner down to perspective on this, but there's committees that are investigating alternative assets.
Yes.
So crypto, other alternatives. What is, even if they allow like a certain percentage, like I know Fidelity allows 401k to have a certain percentage of crypto, like, but it's capped at like 10 or 20%. What would shut her down? How do you kind of like do that?
So it's a very good question. That's something we've kicked around for quite a long time, and I would say there's a lot of disagreement amongst the investment committee on whether that belongs in individual portfolios and whether that belongs in employees' pension plans. We have seen some, we've seen some of our clients, what we would consider kind of the institutional, the ultra high net worth. We have seen some of them take small allocations to crypto. I think if you think about our current fiscal situation, this is like the fiscal door for me. I always joke, I should run for president. I get 90% of the country to run, would vote against me, and I would be the great uniter. That could be like the great thing that I do for the country, because I tend to think about these things like in this manner. But you've got $37 trillion national debt. You have two political parties that won't try and touch or reform the three toughest things that we spend money on, which is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Those are the three big things. Everybody wants to cut non-discretionary or the defense budget, and it's like we could cut all of it and we're still in the hole. Like we could literally spend nothing on anything other than those three programs. So if we can table set, like that can be the table stakes of the discussion. I promise there's a crypto answer in here. You have a couple ways you can get out of it, right? There's kind of, I guess, 5 ways. You can try to inflate your way out of it, which you can do some things to kind of create like what we call like a stagflationary environment where growth is lower than inflation, and therefore you kind of you decrease the value of your debt outstanding, kind of inflate your way out of the issue. Has not worked out for countries that have done it. That's one way. You can do the way that the current administration is trying to do, which is to say, we're going to cut taxes, we're going to try to curtail spending, we're going to try to create growth over and above the spend and the inflation. So you kind of grow your way out of it, which again, I think there's some math issues there. And then but you can certainly grow your way out of it. Third way is there's a default, right? So you can, I don't think that's really going to work, but you could say, hey, I know that we said we owe you 37 trillion, but we're not going to do it. I think there'd be some people that would have some issues with that. And so I think that then there becomes like okay, well, how can you in this investment context, right? How do you solve for, if you're a US based investor, how do you solve for it? And hard assets is one, which is the fourth way. Own a lot of things that are critically important: cell phone towers, tolls, bridges, pipelines. And then the fifth is kind of is something that has mathematical properties of supply and demand that cannot be abused by either side, right? By either political party. And that's where kind of the Bitcoin, where I think Bitcoin fits in. The other ones, Ethereum, Solana, I understand them. I can't say that from an investment perspective, they make any sense to me. Like right now, currently, you could get a crypto evangelist to come up here and he would tell you that I'm completely full of it. He or she, I'm just not there. Bitcoin makes sense in the context of you look down the pike, you have a 50-50 country, you have $37 trillion in debt, and that's how you get institutions like Fidelity saying, maybe it does make sense to kind of hedge out some of our risk, and to put Bitcoin, into a portfolio. It's a math equation. And if you're like me and you appreciate numbers and math, there's something beautifully elegant about how simple Bitcoin is. Now there's a reality that you're betting on people's livelihoods. Like I always tell people I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of great families in my life. We've been doing this 22, 23 years. The most important meeting, the most important client I have are Franklin Park and the other handful of institutional clients, 15, 20, 25 clients that I go to boards and meet with boards like this and talk about how we're going to make good on the promises and the hard work that the men and women that work for both the police and the general employees have done. And that's where the Bitcoin discussion becomes a little bit trickier, because I can make the investment case of why you want to own 2 to 3% of your portfolio in crypto. And I can tell you in the police plans approaching $10 million, if I took a 3% position in that portfolio, it's roughly 300,000. If we lost that, if Bitcoin magically went to zero, I can tell you that the 300 basis points, it would hurt performance for a year or two, but it would really kind of chug along, from a numbers perspective. And what it would allow you to do is it's a hedge against a lot of really bad things happening. The U.S. losing its reserve currency, the U.S. getting entangled in, a war that no one really wants us to get entangled in, which is, the one in the China Sea, with Taiwan and the potential, that could unfold from there. It's a little bit harder because of what crypto is and what it represents, because in a pension plan like this, there would be critics and they would be right. Bitcoin is used by some of the worst among us to fund some of the most horrible things you can imagine. And that's the downside to an anonymous system. And do you want pension plans in there? But I think from a map, if you're talking strictly, what do I feel comfortable with? I think kind of 2 to 3%. It has what I think are asymmetric properties to it, where there's a floor on it, but you have this ability. It's the one thing you can put in a portfolio like the pension plans, and you can get like a Powerball return, which is like being an investor in NVIDIA when Jensen was at Stanford, and it was his idea, or like investing in Apple when it was Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. So you get like this 1,000x return. Bitcoin's the one thing out there that you can grab this daily liquid that can give you something like that. So that's a very long-winded way of saying I understand how it gets into institutional portfolios. There's a conduit. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I've come to when clients say they have to own it, I said, okay, 2 to 3%. It's kind of where it is, but I think there's an extra layer of scrutiny and an extra layer of analysis needed for plans like this. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good explanation.
It's not perfect, and it sounds like I'm punting, but it's just I see the investment cases has been clear to me for some time. I think that there's some problematic stuff in there though.
Doesn't when it goes on the other side of it though, it falls quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so right now the market movements of if we were to put on the screen, let's just take like the NASDAQ. So like our large cap growth ETF that we use to get exposure to the biggest 7 companies is something called SCHG, Schwab large cap growth ETF. 66% of it are in the 10 largest technology companies we can think of. Bitcoin tracks like very, very well to that. However, like here's my mom's side here. So I do this, however, kind of Oxford comma or however comma. I think that lately that trend has been broken in part due to the response as the dollar declined in value. We talked about the dollar declining in value and that the yield on U.S. Treasuries going up, which means the price of the U.S. Treasury is going down. So you have dollar down, price of U.S. Treasury down, Bitcoin's gone up. And it has, for the properties we talked about, you have this deficit, you have a political, you have a body of politics that are, it's 50-50. You started to see now it's literally, we're talking 3 or 4 months of data, which is not a sample set that you can ever be truly comfortable in, but it has broken that, Facebook down, Amazon down, Bitcoin down. It's broken that pattern. Whether it stays that way, we'll see. But for the observable time, it's like the NASDAQ. That's a levered growth trade on the NASDAQ.
How long has Bitcoin actually been trading?
2011.
2011. So if
2011?
it goes back. I mean, the coding of Bitcoin comes out of there's a person, Satoshi. That's a pseudonym, I think. I don't think that no one really knows who created it, but I believe it was he or she started coding Bitcoin in 2008, 2009, and it went live in 2011. So you have about 13 years of 13, 14 years of data. But essentially, it comes down to it's a math equation that no one can really trace it to, and because of that lack of traceability, you have some issues. And right now, the US government will sometimes seize Bitcoin off a chain and then they immediately sell it in the market. They don't keep it, they don't hold it.
But not like a stock where you're just buying and trading. Bitcoin is hard to understand.
I think you have to understand it. It is. It's the mathematical formula isn't. It's actually like the brilliance of Bitcoin from a coding perspective. If you were to bring in like an engineer, like they would say, like coding is so simple, it's like elegant. The problem with it is that it can't do discounted cash flows. For a nerd that loves Excel as much as I do, it becomes problematic when you can't assign a discounted cash flow to it. Like, give me a midstream pipeline and you tell me how many intake offtake facilities it has and who are the investment grade counterparts, and I can value that thing. This becomes much more problematic. But from the standpoint of if you're worried about the US losing its reserve currency, the US going into a financial, you could create conditions to solve the debt. You would just go into like a financial repression. You'd go into the Great Depression. How do we solve the excess of the 20s? Well, we had a Great Depression and World War II. That broadly speaking solved the excesses of the 20s. If you believe that a financial repression is kind of on the table, and to be clear, we don't, but that's like one of the big investment cases for why you'd want to own Bitcoin, because it's not tagged to, Republicans or Democrats. It's not tagged to the fiscal situation of the US or Great Britain or Canada. But it's, if we're in this room and we have to make decisions that we have to live by, that are all recorded, and we're held accountable. In the case of the general employees, someone has earned, what the actuary counts that they earn, we've got to be able to deliver that to them. And if that's where it kind of gets a little bit more complex. But to the chairman's point, it is much more institutionally adopted. I would say that even in the last 6 to 12 months, you've seen people that were, I would say, like converted almost. They were like so anti-Bitcoin. They were, I think, rightfully skeptical of its uses. Are now ardent supporters. And I think owning Bitcoin's a lot better than how some of the larger endowments and pension plans are playing and trying to do venture-backed crypto, or investing in something like stablecoin, which just went a stablecoin just went did an IPO called Circle as a stablecoin that has, I think it owns Bitcoin, but it's pegged to the US dollar, which is hard.
Any other questions? Okay. As always, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
It's always up when you come. So.
Hopefully I'll see you guys Monday, July 28th. See you, brother. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Enjoy summer, and hopefully everybody's rain outs from softball and soccer like my kids here.
Thank you.
Where do you want to sit?
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, how are you? Welcome. So, okay, the mic. And not sure you think that everyone, but we'll go around the room, introduce ourselves. So I'm Gita Talent. I'm Ward 1 councilman, council.
Reject member of management. Council. I'm Schwartzmeyer, Borough Council.
Deputy Council.
Junior council person,
I'm Dennis O'Keefe, Mayor.
Laura Checkard council.
I'm Malcolm Council.
So, for applying for the position of junior council person, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm James. I go to North Allegheny Senior High School, and I'm applying to be junior council person for the canvas. I would say that I'm mainly interested in this role because of my experience at NA, as well as my position, as well as my experience serving on the Environmental Advisory Committee for McCanvas. So I had the opportunity to see very individuals who are very driven in helping their community. And I've seen them argue policy, I've seen them argue to do things that I think they're interested in. So I think that I would like to apply just because I'm interested in helping out my local community. And I would like to see change.
Um,
I have questions.
yes,
In reading through your material, I think the Junior Birding Society is really interesting. Were you interested in birding before you started that? After, well, I saw that you were doing some research about COVID mental illnesses and how birding can help, but were you already interested in birding, or did you research that? That
Yeah.
sparked your interest?
I've actually been interested in birding for like over a decade, since I was like a little kid. Just like walking around, seeing the green space, especially Franklin Park. So my house is really close to the Rachel Carson Trail. So I'm there almost like every single weekend. And there's a ton of birds out there that are just really beautiful. So I go out there very often, I see the birds. And what I saw during COVID is that a lot of people were struggling with their mental health. And I feel like I wasn't struggling as much, potentially because I was out there in nature, just connecting with the beautiful birds. So I feel like just doing that helped spark my interest in the birding society. And that's where I came.
what project or initiative would you like to work on? So typically our junior council person has like a type of project that they work on. What have you do that with
Yeah, so I'm interested in actually, because you mentioned birding before, I'm interested in sort of like a birding project almost. So I've grown up in Franklin Park, and what I noticed is that like it's a really beautiful community. There's always things to do. I never felt like I was missing anything. And I feel like a large part of that community is our seniors. So I feel like the seniors, when I moved in, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, they would come and they would bring cookies to us to try to invite us over to build that sense of community. And I think what I would like to do is I would like to try to give back to that community, try to build that sense of community myself in a way. So what I would be interested in doing is a birdhouse building initiative with the senior citizens. So I'm interested in just improving the green space as well as improving the well-being of our seniors themselves. We would come together, we would build a birdhouse with the materials that we have available to us. We would hang up these birdhouses in our yards, and then we could potentially do like walks around the neighborhoods, around our trails to show off our green space, and also to just in general show off the different birds that Franklin Park has to offer. And actually, something that I'm interested in doing is I made a document as to exactly how I would do it, if you could pass it around. But what it is over the summer I built like a lot of mailboxes with my dad. Yeah, because I ran like 2 of them over, so I needed to rebuild some of them. But I built some mailboxes with my dad. It was a really great experience. And what I saw is that you could actually build a birdhouse with under $2 of material, using the materials that are available to you. So I thought that was something really interesting and something that I'm interested in seeing Franklin Park maybe doing.
I also enjoyed your essay. So pretty, nice touch.
Jim, and your CV is very, very impressive, and you have earned a lot of reward. And so may I ask, and do you have a lot of activities ongoing right now because if you become the junior member and you have to be here and at least 2 nights, per month, and also you may have your some activity, related to your responsibilities here. So you think that you can really spend time on it, and you have enough time.
Yeah. If I were to be elected as a junior council person, I would say that this would be my biggest priority. Because a lot of the activities that I've done and are doing right now, they end. So I mentioned before, I was a member of the Environmental Advisory Committee, but that already ends. We have our next and last meeting for me in a few weeks actually. And then for some of my other positions, I'm an Interact Club officer at our school. That ends as well, and we're only allowed to do 1 year. But something that I realized that I really enjoy is just speaking to students, speaking to a lot of different people about their experiences. So I would say if I were elected to be this position, this would definitely be my #1 priority. So I'll try to go out of my way to attend every single meeting, and in general, just try to speak with as many people as I can to gauge the best opinion as possible involving this position.
Yeah, so just here where council meets twice a month, the first Thursday, the Wednesday. So which is under the project that you were about. And then you're based on the first, would be involved in that page. What questions do you have for us?
Yeah, so as a junior council person, what would the schedule look like and what would responsibilities put you on?
Sure, as they said, first and third Wednesdays, you're welcome to attend. Encouraged
Yeah.
to attend those meetings. The only thing you can't really participate in these executive sessions. We have value input. Other than that, you can get a packet of information, usually the Friday before. Yours is slightly smaller, but really, I'd say the rest is a few spaces.
That's a learning opportunity too. So I know a lot of things, a lot of interest, other your peers, the federal, state level, but a lot happens at the local level. But I think you would not guess happens. So yeah, the idea is for the learning experience, whether you go into government or public sector or private sector, and develop licenses. Do we have any other questions for Jason?
Actually, I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
But I'd like first the Franklin Farm Council. Do you guys do anything to reach out to other citizens? Do you have any kind of them?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think like, especially like, I usually answer questions about a lot of this, like we didn't make a story for every day. A lot of this, probably like interact with our neighbors, residents. Me and another resident trying to research why speed was down. Everything around us, the power is back, and we're just, I don't know, figure out what's going on here, and then just like that was far western part of Franklin Park. So that's the Franklin Park map there with the 3 boards. So there's 2 council members per board, and the president mayor comes over. So I'm in the western part of the board, in Ward 1, and Western Park has a lot of above ground utilities. So there are a lot of talks for pushing that sort of onto that. So a lot of the conversations are both looking to expedite getting power restoration for that. But in general, I get a lot of questions on road repairs, festival of car, general yeah, as a junior council person, there's no requirement. He like be with 100 residents a month or anything like that. It seems it's very much responsible and learn too, but we do engage. Any other questions, James?
We do get calls from constituents when, especially like during the last storms. I had quite a few people call, people who, a week later, they still couldn't get into their own driveways. We can't force power companies and public utilities to address those issues, but we can certainly call and twist their arm a little bit. Or if it's something the borough can send over us, and we can't clear private property, but we can move a tree off the street or something, to reopen roadways, and stuff like that. We try to help the residents along those lines with, situations to occur. That was a pretty bad storm we had about a month ago, so there were quite a few streets that were closed for actually for quite some time. So we do stuff like that. We get stormwater complaints, like people's places will get flooded when the storm occurs. A lot of times, a lot of our stores that we're working on, the stormwater is taken away. Some of those stores are getting very old. So we're putting together a program to replace the pipe. A lot of it's not corrugated metal pipe, and after 50, 60 years, it starts to rust and corrode. And obviously the flow rate goes way down, and water goes backing up, and it's not a good situation for anybody. So we've been dealing with that at the borough level a lot. So it's a lot of stuff like that. I think the one other question that they asked about is, what does the junior council person do? And we've had, because I've known council, 8 or 10 junior council people, and they always, a lot of them have their own little thing they like to focus on. I remember the one young woman 2 or 3 years ago did the community garden down across the park. Rent a plot of land. That was a project that she was really into, to give people that don't have a little space for a garden, if they garden, they can go down to a plot of basically old farmland, and they plant tomatoes or plants or whatever they'd like to put in there. So it was a project she wanted to take forward, tried to raise money to help develop it. So I've seen junior council people come up with all kinds of things that we can't say we're going to do them all, but things that are near and dear to your heart personally, you can always ask if you're chosen. Yeah.
There's one that, Jared box, which still goes on today. It's a way to give to children in hospitals, just, and, that started when she was a junior council person. And and we supported that as a borough, and that continues on today. And it's just like the community gardens that stay with us for going on. So people benefit from a lot, does benefit a lot from what junior council does. And we kind of let it up to you. What's important to you? What would you like to see happen, or something different that you want to initiate? You have to use your good intuition.
I mean, you could think of it like this. You could say, well, my neighbors would benefit if the borough could help with this, or if we could provide that. And we certainly talk about anything in our meetings. So all suggestions brought forward will be discussed. Can't guarantee they'll all move ahead, but any good ideas that you may hear from your neighbors or friends or your fellow students, if you're at North Allegheny. When I was on the North Allegheny School Board for 10 years, we always had 2 junior council people on that school board. And they would bring back stuff from NAI and from that, but one for each of the buildings. And they would always come back with ideas to the school district. Well, that's not exactly what the borough, obviously they're in different businesses, but they would come in with projects and discuss and have the school board consider some of those suggestions, which were good because they were right in the midst of what was going on. They had a better, sense for those things than a school board member could ever have. It really can be what you make it.
And you also mentioned them from ceiling. What exactly you guys talk about here?
I can tell it's time we're talking about fees, install the fees, stormwater, sure we'll talk about that, engineering reports, grants, we apply for a lot of grants. So, government structure, so pensions for you under, so all, anything dealing with the operation and vision of the Borough. We set our agendas are, online, they're publicly posted, yeah, so, we've got a lot of, variety of things.
And these meetings are recorded, broadcast, and saved for people to.
Yeah, okay, but everyone's,
All of them, yeah. Yeah, and the minutes are, Kathy puts the minutes up on the website, so you can actually read our meeting minutes, you can see the agenda, read the minutes. And was Brian actually can do it, so if you really want to see what we do, and it varies, we don't do the same thing every month, we can be doing the budget 1 month. Towards the end of the year, we're getting ready to budget for the next year, we're on a calendar year, so. By the end of this, by mid-December, we have done the full budget going into January. So things follow a cycle, you know, keep the budget thing every year. We talked about road paving every spring, what roads we're gonna do. So we have basically, I think a lot of tasks are repetitive each and every year. But new things as Uday mentioned, new things are always popping up.
all right, any other questions for James? James, do you have any questions for us? Cool. All right, well, thanks. Thank you for coming in, pleasure to meet you, and, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
We'll talk about it. Okay, welcome. Yes, Terry, Shawnee. Okay, cool, perfect. So why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? I'm Uday Pallet, Council Ward 1, President.
Tom Schwartz, my council work great.
Dominique Council.
Junior Council.
Dennis O'Keefe, Mayor.
Hi, Sean, Laura Checkout, Council.
Brian Nelson.
Yeah.
Could you move the microphone just a little?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, welcome, thank you for some findings, first, down here. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
So, although I'm sure you already know, my name is Shani Belli. In 2 days, I'll be a rising junior at North Allegheny Senior High School. And so the reason I really wanted to apply for this position is because of my passion for environmental science. So, ever since I was young and ever since I can remember, I've wanted to be an environmental lawyer. So to stay on that track, I've done 3 really important things. The first is creating a club at my school called Clean Waterways, in which we host stream cleanups within the Franklin Park Borough. Secondly, I've joined the debate team where I've had historic achievements that are really great opposed to just participating. I've placed at numerous national and local tournaments and won our local Duquesne College tournament, also being the first person in Pennsylvania to qualify for the state tournament. Lastly, I've competed at the Pennsylvania Regional 5-Star in, again, water conservation. And so within the 3 years that I've competed there, I've obtained 2 third places and 2 sponsor awards, as well as partnering under our club at North Allegheny Senior High School, partnering with the Bradford Woods Borough to do an environmental awareness Earth Day environment, where we had 300 volunteers show up. So it was a really great turnout.
Cool, what questions do you have?
Well, I was gonna ask about that, but you still did.
Okay, so are you aware of the when council meets? So it will meet like first Wednesday, third Wednesday. You know, we do have a session which you usually will attend, but other than that, you're gonna attend everything else. So we should schedule. Cool. And then in terms of the modeling club, you mentioned that you clean up waterways in Franklin Park. do you do anything elsewhere?
Yeah, so we also teach at, McKnight Elementary where we teach water preservation. So our club's motto is conserve to preserve, so conserving our water to preserve the environment. So along with teaching water conservation and strategies like that, or techniques like that at McKnight Elementary, we obviously also do stream cleanups like we did in my own neighborhood, which is within the Franklin Park Borough. We also partnered with Bradford Woods Borough to do that Earth Day environment I was talking about, that Earth Day kind of program that I was talking about a little bit earlier. So that event had a really amazing turnout. It had 300 members, and it was a big event with lots of different environmental protection agencies that would come on and talk about environmental awareness, conservancy, all sorts of things like that, as everything to do with the environment. So we were the student representatives for kind of the entire Bradford Woods and Franklin Park as a whole through that event there. So that's what Clean Water means.
How do you choose which waterways to work on and clean up?
Well, so Allegheny County also does a lot of stream cleanups, which I participate in as frequently as I can. I think I've gone to a really good bit of them. They're really fun to do, and they also do a lot of stream cleanups. So they do those pretty often. So whatever they don't clean up, we try and snatch up before they do. First come, first serve, whatever we can get to before they do.
You were the county collaborate?
Allegheny County.
Yeah. Everything else.
We did work with them to do our neighborhood cleanup. We got supplies, we got the permission slips and everything, because we had a lot of children in our cleanup too. We had, I think, roughly 30 people come to help clean up our neighborhood stream. And so we had 40 to 50 bags of trash pulled out of our stream, which is really, really great, seeing as the neighborhood is pretty new. So we did work with Allegheny County to get a lot of the logistics working with that.
Which neighborhood are you?
I'm in Harvard Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you're dumping that much trash into your stream,
Yeah,
or?
we have sort of a runoff situation where the really, really hilly neighborhood, so straight down the really big hill is the stream, which goes into kind of like a detention pond where it collects just bags upon bags of trash. That's where we got a bunch of our trash from.
Well, it's so really windy on trash day. And meet up for Harvard Farms neighbors. We're not just throwing trash everywhere. Always windy on trash day.
Sure.
I throw my cigarettes down there.
There's Shawnee, a lot of junior council.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. So, as I'm sure I've made it pretty clear so far, but I do really love environmental advocacy and awareness, just protection like that. So a really big thing that I've tried my hardest to focus on is waterways, if not waterways, a lot of trash conservancy, things like that. So not only does Clean Waterways work on waterways, we also do roadside cleanups. So we did partner with Allegheny County for one of those, but we're also in the process of trying to get our school that I'm at right now, which is North Allegheny Intermediate High School. We don't actually recycle any of our paper, which is a really bad thing because our school is really, really big and our school district is also really, really big. So our school district not recycling is a pretty big problem. So we're getting that undergoing. It is taking a lot of time, and it's obviously a really big process. We have a lot of hurdles to jump, but we are getting there. And I'd like to think it's a really good project to focus on this kind of trash and not just waterways, but any sorts of conservancy, the best that we can.
Have you done much public speaking?
Public speak. Yeah, so I'm on the debate team, and so I just love to talk. I talk a lot, if you can't tell already. But I do love public speaking, and so that's one of the reasons I want to be a lawyer. I think if I'm not at a speech and debate tournament every single weekend, I'm at a stream cleanup. So that's a good amount of the public speaking I get in. So
What's some of the most memorable ones that you've done, public speaking?
in debate, so our I think my favorite, I'm a little bit biased, but we did have a topic on single-use plastics as to whether the United States federal government should ban all of those. And obviously I had a little bit of an upper hand on that one, talking about the waterways and cleaner environments, things like that. So I really like that topic.
So do you currently have a lot of activity? No, do you currently have a lot of activity ongoing or just like that?
I'd like to think I have a small range of activities, but they're all focused in one category, and I put as much time as I can into those. So if I were elected into this position, I would give as much of my time as I can possibly, because all these resolutions, these policies that this borough as a whole passes is something that I'm really interested in. And I think that it's really important that, one, I think it's amazing that there's a youth, thought or position on this borough, because I love that, younger members of our borough get to have a voice. And I think that I personally also am biased, but I do think that I'm a voice of the people is what I'd like to think. So I do think that I'd be a really good, I would put a lot of my time towards this, and any sorts of other commitments I have, I'd 100% commit as much of my time as I could towards this activity.
I guess it's, you probably forum.
I do have next.
Yeah, I know that topic, I judged that topic, I judged debate permits.
You actually got me and one of my
Oh,
friends.
yes. You're not, like that, didn't want to, so.
Yeah.
Well, Desani talked about being environmental lawyer. What side of the environmental law would you be on?
Well-
Because you know there's two sides,
Yes,
right?
I would hope that I'd be on the pro-environment side, but
Understood.
mhm,
You'd have to not give him the siren song.
yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
I think my only question would be a little bit of a curiosity question, just out of curiosity. What is a resolution that you guys are looking to pass that has something to do with any sorts of conservancy for the environment?
Yeah, so,
We don't have anything presently, but I know that we have to redo the stormwater again.
Yep.
It's still not quite right, right?
So the county-
Steep slope is another thing we have to look at, right?
slopes,
Yeah.
to give, that is, like, the slopes is in terms of like, what it is, slope of the hill,
Yeah.
property development. Any structure being built on it, sometimes you have to modify it in order to get the engineering correct. There are situations where you can stay within a certain percentage of modifying it, without, negative effect, negative effect being when it's fine or. So that's what we're looking at, stormwater, the county had updated their stormwater guidelines, maybe like a decade ago, but of course things have changed, the floods, and the stormwater is becoming more powerful in a shorter span of time, so it's over-inundating our stormwater pipes and ability to handle them. And those are some of the things that actually that stormwater is a lot of our time at the borough and a lot of our resources in terms of budget. I guess those are the two.
I think so, yeah. Absolutely.
Our current junior council member just pointed out to me that we get, if you're chosen as a junior council person, we get a packet right before every meeting. And it's several hundred pages usually that we read before, usually the first one of the month is longer, since I have second additions or any changes to that, but that's something to consider in terms of time.
Mhm. Well, I love reading, so I think that's the perfect fit, reading and writing. And so I know I have to write a little bit during a little debrief, I think during every meeting. I love reading and writing, so I think that's perfect.
And we meet the first and third Wednesday of each month. How does that work for your schedule going into high school?
That works perfectly. My only sort of busy days are obviously Saturdays for debate tournaments, but I could pass that for them.
Some of our work session will kind of like continue until sometimes 11, 12. And
No, it's gonna be late. Not every week.
some of
Record
that,
breaking
yeah.
one,
And so, are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as the conversation's interesting, I think I'll stay.
I not exactly, and very interesting sometimes, talk about like how many chickens and.
That's worth staying until 11 for. Yeah.
Okay.
I think she might enjoy the MS4 stuff too, while we're talking about Clean Streams Act.
I know,
I know, you could talk for hours.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Do you have a favorite hobby?
I do actually, again, with water. I used to be a swimmer for 10 years and then I played water polo for 3. But now, I can no longer do those because they are really big time commitments along with debate. So I paddleboard almost, again, if I'm not at a debate tournament or a stream cleanup, I'm probably paddleboarding. A lot of the times after tournaments, I like to debrief and go paddleboard. So paddleboarding at Marine State Park, North Park, any sorts of parks, and obviously waterways. I really love anything to do with water if I haven't made it a very big passion of mine. So yeah, paddleboarding is something that's really fun for me.
Thank you.
I feel like with our problems with stormwater, it's quite apropos.
Any other questions for us, or?
No, I think everything's been.
How about?
No.
Good. Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was great meeting you all.
And we'll be in touch.
Yeah, have a nice day. The weather's good. I should paddleboard maybe.
Thank you.
Yes.
You work out the secret.
Hi.
All right, welcome, Benjamin. Yeah, looking nice. Hey, thank you for coming in. So you applied for the position of junior health person for the next, school year. So why don't we go around and do some self-time, get a ballot, for more fun and. Appreciate your manager.
Palm Sports Borough Council.
You was always in your council person.
And then so Keith Mayor.
Laura Chapman, council.
Right now, council.
There you go.
You too.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the position?
So,
Yeah, we'll give you the microphone, more importantly, hear you though.
in middle school, I was on my student council, and I got to see how a form of government sort of operated. And I thought it was really cool. And when I saw this ad in the local paper, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to really learn how an actual form of government would work.
What paper?
It was it's I don't really remember. It might have been. It wasn't in the North Allegheny. It was. Yeah, it's some.
He is working.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So what questions do you have about the position?
Like, how involved is this? Like, is it every single meeting? Is it like, are you helping plan with all these events?
Yeah, so our junior developers, so we, as a council, we meet twice a month formally. First and third Wednesdays, the first Wednesday is work session, so we, a lot more discussion, a lot more hands-on tactical. That's a little bit less, longer than typically most of the time we have. It is very intelligent, very deep topic. We generally start at 7, once we have the committee meeting at 6. And then our third Wednesday is already starts at 8. And we do have an agenda. We're usually done. So our meeting here much longer, not very brief. So those are the core meetings, and then we have executive session issue involvement. The teachers. We do have events in the community. So, there's day. We have golf outings, or it's just whatever you want to be involved in. Go to, but some of us are more involved in basement. Just involved. In terms of like your involvement, there's typically a, like, it's really to like help you understand local government, how local government operates, learn experience, and also to kind of provide perspective as well, right? So, this is your borough, so you are there for public use or for residents, and also this is a project that, we work with council person that like, work on independently, a topic of interest for you. So, like in the past, we've had, dinner boxes or whatnot, which is for children at hospitals, like, these are like care gifts. That was the project for that person. The other one, their project for the year was setting up a community park, over by the park, where residents could grow vegetables.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty open. Topic of interest. So that's kind of like default.
Yeah, it actually, it sounds very similar to another, job. And then with, First Tee, I also give a lot of feedback to, like the senior councilwoman and, help plan all these, other fundraising events.
That's what I was actually gonna ask you about First Tee. Tell us a little bit about your experience with First Tee.
So, I've been an assistant coach for a while, and recently I was just appointed, vice president of the junior advisory board.
So we do a lot of event planning, giving a sort of younger take to, older topics, like, I don't know how to word that. Yeah, we haven't, gotten into many sessions yet, so not much experience on that yet.
In terms of what you do, you're a coach for younger students?
Yeah, so really anywhere from, I think they start at 5 to 18, so I could follow them.
When did you start golfing?
Well, I was 8,
At 8?
yeah,
You're really Clover Hill, you like that?
yeah, I do like Clever a lot. Pretty nice.
How often do you golf?
Uh, try and go like every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Uh, called, and you're where we have a golf outing every year, scholarship fundraiser. Yeah, I don't know, like, our minors or like that.
Yeah, they're on the If I have a spot, it sounds like you might really fit in there. But I'm really bad at
How many strokes did you give them?
You have a non-golf.
There you go.
Tell me a little bit about, you said you're really passionate about underage vaping
Yeah.
prevention. Tell us a little bit about that. What
So-
have you done so far?
I mean, I see a lot at school, like all my peers, they're vaping. I feel like they're just getting younger and younger. I feel like some sort of anti-vaping campaign that we could send out could really do a lot of good. That,
Is something fired up your interest on vaping versus just someone knows? Just so-
I really just noticed that a lot of kids at school.
I keep hearing that that's as bad as smoking one. If not worse. So it's
It's just missing the 30 years of studies.
Right. I mean, good thing to put out, you know. It'd be a good challenge to try to get that to the spot.
And you would have sort of a unique pulpit here, having the perspective of a young person, but having maybe a little bit more reach. If that's something you wanted to work on, or any of the things, you listed a couple things that you would be interested in. Will typically help kind of expand your reach if those are interested, areas you're interested in.
Yeah, I know you talked about the sidewalks and bike lanes, about starting parks company. Playing.
Any other questions? For our councilors? Do you have questions for us?
No, I have that one though.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good.
So we meet the first and third Wednesday of each month. Is that the time commitment that you're
Yeah.
good with?
Yeah.
Can't really predict how long this stuff is. It's usually not too bad. And then, we tell you, you're gonna get a word packet. I'm glad it before it's gonna be a few hundred pages. To read kind of a bit.
Sounds worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so weird.
Sometimes it'll have like a paragraph in the middle of it, or scanned documents. Yeah, it can be already. Anything else?
We're good.
Anything? Questions for that? Cool. Awesome, well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming in. Dennis would like to golf this. You know I need him, right?
Yesterday.
Today. We absolutely.
We would indicate that she would use it.
Yeah, that's fine. Sounds good. All right, well, we live in a-
You guys will- If I need percussion. Yeah, I got you there. All right.
We're smacking golf club up.
Okay, so welcome, sorry about the delay, a lot going on here, so, VP 503.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, so we'll just go around real quick, I'm Gina Pallet, One.
Schwartz Council.
Japanese council,
Oh my God, Jimmy.
Dennis O'Keefe, mayor.
Laura Checkline, council.
Brian Malcolm Council.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in and you're interested for the junior council person, opportunity. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to get from the position?
Yeah, my name is Aditi Valpamiri. I'm a current junior at Nash, so the senior high school at North Allegheny. Some activities I'm a part of is I do gymnastics on the NA varsity team. I'm a marching band member and I'm involved in multiple clubs, including Walker Home, National Honor Society, and the Key Club, one of the community service oriented clubs. And that's just a little bit about me.
Tell us a little bit about your Earth Day project with Key Club.
Yeah, so when I was at NAI serving as secretary of Key Club, I during our month of April, well, we usually we have monthly meetings and we usually organize something community service related per month related to whatever the month stands for. April is obviously an Earth Day month. And we tried to organize something related to that. And so we asked everybody to bring in plastic water bottles that we cut up and made into pots. And then we brought in soil and flower seeds and just show them that you can reuse them, start your own garden or plants.
How long have you been working at Starbucks?
I've been working at Starbucks since August last year, so 1 year coming up soon.
How do you like it? Stressful or? I know some people find it soothing.
It's a fast-paced environment, but I've learned a lot from it, working with the people with different perspectives, and it's learning how to collaborate with others to find the best solution to deliver a service with the high quality that the corporate sets for all locations.
You lettered in gymnastics for now. How long have you been in gymnastics?
Yeah, I've actually done gymnastics since I was a little girl. During COVID, I did take a break because some of the gyms did close, but then I rejoined in high school, and it's good. It keeps me active, and I get to know immediate friends.
A lot of our junior council people will come to stage. If you have any ideas on what you might like to focus on.
Yeah, so one project I do want to do is bridge the gap between the youth and the council. Many of the youth are not really a part of it. They don't listen to meetings such as lead work sessions, and they have a broad, diverse group of things that they want to be involved in. Some people like the environmental sustainability part. Some people like to improve your infrastructure. So one thing I want to do is find volunteer opportunities for each category, which you guys have initiatives in. And I want to offer that to National Honor Society, Key Club, where kids can come and volunteer. Additionally, I'm a part of marching band and the Honors Music Society, and we also look for volunteer opportunities. So maybe when you guys have public meetings, we could have students playing music to welcome in public or youth council members, just to give them an opportunity to stay and be a part of the community.
Much musical.
Well, it's choosing music.
I was on the North Allegheny School Board, they did that like twice a year, we would have a small group of the band members. Usher or open the school board meeting.
You still do PYCO?
No, I didn't. I don't. I had too much on my plate, but it was a good experience. I enjoyed playing a part of that. I got to get challenging music and grow my musical abilities. So it was a good opportunity.
So what hobbies do you have? What hobby that
Yeah, my hobby. One of my hobbies is I do enjoy music, but another one is that I always try to do something for my community. I love to volunteer. I go to the Carnegie. I used to go to the Carnegie Science Center for 2 full years, did presentations and educated future generations about the future of science. I'm also going to be volunteering at the VA's office over the summer, and I'm going to learn more about what the VA does and help veterans out. So that is truly one of my hobbies, is to go and volunteer.
What instrument do you play in marching band?
I play the mellophone. It's the equivalent to the French horn because you can't play a French horn, so.
Is that the only instrument, or do you play other instruments besides the one for the marching band?
No, just the French horn and the mellophone. That's
Okay,
all.
that's two, so.
Well, same instrument, but
Yeah.
they like convert it so you could like walk on it.
At the Science Center, when you assisted with the STEM projects,
Yeah,
was that in a classroom or was that one-on-one with people? How did that work?
yeah, so, if you guys are aware, the Science Center has a planetarium. I would be like standing around there with a whole entire demonstration table and anybody could walk up and we would do demonstrations with them. When summer camps used to come, we used to do it with big groups, but when usually regular visitors came, we did it like single and we like did it on a one-by-one basis.
What did you get out of that?
I got to meet a lot of people from every walk of life. I got to hear about their perspectives, their stories, and how it connects to science and what they did in their life. And just learning about what they did, gaining their perspectives, and made me think, how could I help the community? What projects could I start to give back to them?
So you were probably getting exposed also to people from around different parts of the world too.
Yeah,
Wow, quite an education for you too, right?
thank you.
And it says you, president of Walker Home, is that current? Are they doing that?
Yeah, that's current. I was in 10th grade and then I just got reelected for my senior year. So I will be continuing that.
So a lot of community involvement with that.
Yes. We held a donation drive for the local women's shelter because they were in need. We raised over 200 plus of donation items and we were able to donate that on essential needs for them.
So I don't think we said this already, but starting to have a loop in my head, but we have meetings, twice a month. On Wednesday evenings, and we get a packet the Friday before the meeting that we need to read through. Yours will be a little bit shorter than ours, because you'll have some information redacted, but they're usually 100, 200 pages of reading before the meeting. Is that the time commitment you think you can handle?
Yeah, I like to balance all my stuff efficiently so I can give my full entire effort to every single organization I'm a part of. I have a daily calendar and I have a physical planner that keeps track of that, and I'm willing to give 2 hours to go ahead and read the 200 pages.
Do you have any questions for us?
I want to know what initiatives you guys are looking for more youth voice and more youth opinion for the council and for the initiatives in the community.
Remember, we serve the community, we're elected, but obviously we approve budgets and we make the ordinance, you review ordinance, we look at building plans, the whole series of things we do to protect the borough and to serve the residents. So we're really looking for somebody that perhaps can see what we're doing, but also if there's situations in the neighborhoods that you hear about that we may not have heard about, like, hey, there's a problem here, or somebody is a real bad road situation, or there's flooding that occurs every time, things that our people may not know about. We have 100 miles of road, so we have a few employees, so we can't be everywhere when storms hit. So any problems or anything that you feel that the borough can do better, we'd like the junior council people to bring that to our attention. The more eyes in the neighborhood is always helpful to us. And then, as Luke already said, it seems like many of our junior council people try to select a special project, something they want to work on. We've had various projects throughout the year. I think Uday mentioned previously, we had a community garden started down by Linwood Park, down by the soccer field there. People can rent a plot of land, put plants in, and take care of them down there. And that had to be all developed, topsoil brought in, and marketed to the community. So it was a project for that particular person that was near and dear to her heart. And it was a lot of work, but she put a lot of effort into it. It was something she wanted to see happen. The borough owns the land, but she was able to help put it together and get donations, mark for this, so that people actually putting, actually working flowers.
There's an impact.
Yeah.
There's a positive community benefit impact to that, and I think it's still going great.
Exactly, it's still there, so I mean, those are the kind of things that, I mean, it's not a specific list of activities, but there's a, you know, bring something to us and constantly consider it.
Yeah, say any topic that we address, what your perspective.
And then I have an additional question. I know we're trying to get our borough to be a bird town, or correct me if I'm wrong with the terminology. When that does happen, how would, like, what opportunities would the youth have when that occurs? Will there be volunteer opportunities? Are there,
I mean, they're very much in the, it's more of the discovery stage right now, is the way to describe it. I definitely, I don't see why all would not happen in terms of learning experience. The first phase is assuming that this were actually approved by the president or whatever part, is a study period of like 12 or 18 months, where there are elected volunteers to serve and basically research the pros and cons, and imagine that like it is beneficial for the community input, and also learn about this. I mean, most of these that I encounter have a very strong interest in the federal and state people to that extent, but quite a bit happens at the local level. And literally, you are transforming from exaggerating, but you are seeing a change happening. Yeah, definitely youth perspective and youth involvement, because that's one way of learning about it. And who knows, maybe the youth provide better research than they elected volunteers are good. Yes. So just having additional perspective. It's always valid. Any other questions? Do you have any other questions?
yeah, I just wanted to say that, if I do get this position, my main goal would just be, combining your goal of making a better future for the future and, bringing the people who will be inheriting that future into, the discussion.
Well, then. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for coming in.
So much.
We'll be in touch.
Have a nice night, everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe the next thing that the regular meeting. 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
I think she'll survive.
Oh, well.
If they decide.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, but.
Yes.
Okay, and also there.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's go around, introduce yourself. So I'm Ethan Howard, Council Ward 1, Council President.
Appreciate it, man.
Tom Schwartz, my borough council.
John D. Thompson,
You know, the junior council,
Dennis O'Keefe, Mayor.
Chuck Dodge council.
I'm, Malcolm council.
Well, welcome. Thank you for your interest in applying for the junior council person opportunity for the next school year. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to get out of the position?
My name's Ava Fair. I'm a current junior at North Allegheny High School. Next year I'll be a senior. I'm really involved in the community and the athletic fields. So I played 5 sports in total my high school career. This year only 3, so that was basketball, track and field, and rugby. I'm involved in student council, and next year I'll be the cabinet head for the welcome committee. And I have over 100 hours and 2 years of Key Club, and I'll continue to do that into the next year. Yeah.
Cool. What do you hope to get out of the opportunity here?
I'd really like to create change here and really voice my opinion. I'd also like to learn about government and local government. I'm thinking about going into college for criminology, psychology, so I think this would be like a nice opportunity for me to discover more about myself, but also for like it to be a platform to express my opinions and to kind of create change around me.
I have two quick questions. You said you found out about these positions through the newspaper?
Yes.
Which newspaper?
I don't know. My mom just found it and she was like, would you be interested? Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know.
That was more of a question for us than for you, but.
How's the information getting out? Where's it going?
Yeah.
How do we not know?
Under your awards, tell us a little bit about the This Is Us Award.
So last year our school had, I guess an event, it was This Is Us. And it basically was just help people, acknowledge people who, was learning and going above and beyond. So one of my teachers nominated me for most improved, in trying to work harder and be better every day. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What's your favorite sport? Yes, several.
Rugby, 100%. Yeah, that's gonna be my main thing, and I'm gonna try to go to college for it.
How long have you played rugby?
I just completed my 4th year. Yeah,
Is it varsity sport or club sport?
so I play club sport, but I'm trying really hard to get it to be with my school.
Yeah.
Very hard, but trying every day.
So maybe you're involved in a lot of sports here. It'd be a commitment for the council meetings, it's the first and third Wednesday of each month. And there's can be a number of hours involved in that. Do you feel like with your sports and your dedication to sports that you'll be able to have time to do the council meetings?
What time are those council meetings on?
So we've got work sessions that typically will start at 7, but sometimes if there's a committee meeting, it might start at 6, right?
I don't think you the council.
Do the committee. So just hard associations.
Yeah, so most of my sports the track is the most time consuming for me. So track would be from 3 to 5, so that probably wouldn't be an issue. And then rugby is very, it definitely depends on which year, what days it's gonna be, but it's typically only 2 days a week, and I wanna say it's typically Tuesday, Thursday. So I don't think it would conflict very much.
A lot of times junior council people will pick one specific project.
Right.
Something that's important to them.
So I think one of the big things, is teenager involvement. I think we could host a lot more events and get the community more involved and reach out to like more people to come together more. Some of these ideas could be, like having like a pickleball tournament or running clubs, or even just having like fair events and, having like food trucks come and spreading the word more about events in our community, like through social media, through word of mouth, and putting up like posters in heavily populated locations. I think that would really boost the community feel.
Good questions. You have questions for us?
I do. Can I, put my phone? Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
Sorry, I have them written down. So the first question I had was, how has the junior council member made an impact in the past years?
Yeah, I'd say, feel free to like weigh in here. They, from what I've observed, I've been in council for like a year now. It's really the end project that they've had. Like when you're in the garden, that's a project. It's like a $3, $50 for children, a lot of things. Then other times, just hearing from other perspective on topic, that's it is to compare like, you know, alternative perspective or whatnot, like. We get very deep in the weeds of something, so every now and then it's good to hear like fresh perspective. So that is.
Up to you. In the past, we've had several projects that been started by junior council people that endeavor on through the day and still and still, benefit our community. But it's really, if you have a special interest, that you would like to pursue and, whether it be, the sports, or young people getting involved more with the community. It's all up to you, you know, you can do what you want, and many times what you do what you want, and it catches on. And it happens to have happened in the past for these projects that continue on through, that stay with us today beyond their time as a person. It's hard to recommend to you, all a few things.
We're gonna start a comprehensive recreational plan later this year, when we start into next year. So that's what we're gonna do. We have 4 or 5 parks, we're all scattered all around. We're trying to look at what we're offering at each of them now, what enhancements we may want to bring to those. Can connect them with trails, for instance. I mean, it's probably geographically, I probably wouldn't want to do all of them, but we did a comprehensive plan about 3 years ago now. And the overwhelming thing that the residents wanted was more green spaces and more outside activities. And a lot of our parks, we have additional land and acquired land. Probably in the last 5 years, we probably acquired 100 acres of land if you haven't even all up reach or something like that. It's ought to be done as quickly.
Yeah, I'll continue with one.
Yeah, these aren't 101 spot, but most of them are contiguous to current parks that we have, so we can grow them and we can look at what we're offering. And maybe we're looking at fields here, and we're looking at pickleball courts here. We obviously don't have pickleball over here in the water, but we still have the courts at the Blueberry Park. So, I mean, that would be something. It sounds like with your sports activity, that might be something that you want to participate in if you were selected.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my other question.
So you kind of covered this, but I was thinking if there's any other specific issues that the council is currently working that affects the youth.
I would say recreation.
Yeah.
Right, so,
Probably the biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some reasons that there's been some improvements in the parks recently through grants and things like that. There's stuff that's gonna roll out that is for the youth, right? We've got the pump track that's coming.
All the
Yeah. You know, I'm pretty sure they'll like that this golf is being redone. So there's a bunch of stuff.
public safety impacts youth rights, so, the things like, speed limits. Versus speed, or speed mitigation,
Crosswalks.
crosswalk,
Yeah.
speed humps, so those are issues that affect not just everyone, but enhances and, ensures safety. So it's a wide range of things, but like recreation is big.
And then my last one is, what advice would you give to someone stepping into this role or just even trying to create change in their environment?
That's a great question, because what you have to do is you have to be a really good listener in your group and figure out what it is that they want that they're not getting. You bringing to council to the extent that you have a vision for, I think this is definitely a problem that there's a solution for. So listening would be like the number one. I know listening in council meetings can be an amazing kind of experience in and of itself, because very few people will have any opportunity to participate in local government the way as a junior council person would shape your thinking going forward. Because you basically what you learn about how government processes work and how that may or may not translate to state. I think as the local government processes go, they're extremely, they move much quicker, even though they're slow. And they have much more impact on the local community than the state would at a quicker rate, especially And very responsive too. I mean, there are things where we'll have a constituent come to us and say, I got X problem. We'll be working on it within 4 to 5 days, depending on when they tell us, you have a solution. I mean, there's no state or local government, state or federal government that work that way, that process.
Yeah, there's lots of examples of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or junior council.
So personally for me, this has been an incredible opportunity and for everyone who's like interviewed. It like listening, kind of like what Mr. Malcolm said, like listening in and just taking in everything that they say. Like I can even apply to like they say something in one of my classes and I'm like, oh wait, like I kind of know what they're talking about because we talked about something like that in like the meeting last night and stuff like that. So it's definitely an incredible learning opportunity. And then getting to know everyone here and it just like definitely helps you get like better involved in your community.
Schools were getting involved too, because we have lots of residents and constituents that don't even know that this is going on and don't know when it goes on or what it does, or none of that. So this is, it's all kind of, it kind of opens your eyes to the functions.
What do we have? We have over 15,000.
Yeah, that's about right.
And I'll bet you there's not more than 250 that even know this building's here or what goes on.
You know,
That may be a little bit of an exaggeration. Kathy shake her head, but you say that when we have a council meeting, what's council? I mean,
yeah.
I'm not slamming our constituents and our neighbors, but a lot of people, if things are working well, they tend to not want to be involved or do anything.
And they don't need any help. They don't want anything.
They don't want anything.
I mean, right now, this is being streamed live, it's being recorded. We've got
We have one guest.
We have one guest.
So I mean, that's kind of shows you something, what we're doing, would make me feel like we're doing the right thing. Because no complaints is also good news.
Yeah.
But we still like to hear when problems are there, we can only address them through process.
Or up to these.
So another thing, kind of what you said, sorry, I got like excited. Like getting, the people to know, like I'll tell my friends, like I was at a grad party before this and I, was like, oh, I have to go. And she's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I have to go to like a borough meeting. She was like, a what? And I was like, come on now. And, so I think definitely getting the like word out and even just talking to your peers and then they talk to their parents and like I talk to my dad all the time about it. And he's like, oh, wait, like that's actually kind of interesting. Like just getting the like word out about the borough council and what like they do is very, very important. And just spreading the word to your peers and then especially like younger peers who then will be like, oh, wait, I kind of want to apply for that position now. Like I think that would be a cool opportunity.
Just one more thing. How long have you guys had the junior council been a part of the Franklin Club?
At least 10 years.
Oh, it's probably
Longer.
closer to 20. And talking about the previous projects and things, the first junior council person was the one who started the idea of the scholarship program that we've done.
In 2003.
There you go.
That's what
2003.
Yeah, I was reading, I was looking through it over there. Like, oh, council person. Great.
Okay, beautiful.
So it's been run and North Allegheny has it on their school board as well. I don't know if you're aware of that. North Allegheny School Board is 2 junior councils. So I mean, people can apply for that one as well, one from Nash and one from NAI.
Right.
I'm not sure how well they advertise it. When I was on that school board, we always had 2 that were there. And they did a very similar thing, obviously, with the school related issues. The school board, where they want moving the borough related issues.
Yeah, you could be as mundane as the folks in your neighborhood, you know, have a problem with roads around the neighborhood or, you know, that type, it could be anything. You're kind of like the eyes and ears of like, your community.
Oh, that's good.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. And we'll be in touch.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Might just think so, you're right. I'll be. I
Okay.
know the person.
Oh, I got it.
Figured that one.
Well, second.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for your sin applying for junior controversial program. Why don't you, so Caitlin, what,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll introduce ourselves and, go from there. So I'm Vijay Powell, for council, Ward 1.
Region member manager.
Tom Schwartzmeyer, Borough Council.
Johnny Johnson.
I'm Dennis O'Keefe, Mayor.
Laura Chandat, council.
I'm Malcolm Council.
Oh, so why don't you tell us about yourself and also what you'd love to get out?
My name is Taylor Lammer.
Yeah, we'll give you like.
My name is Taylor Lammer. I attend Winchester Business School. I'm a current junior and I'll be a senior next year. I play baseball and that's been my main sport for the past 10 or so years. And I just picked up rugby this past fall, which I've been enjoying a lot. And then actually I like rugby now more than baseball, but
We need to talk to Haven.
I work at NACBP, the Clinical Trial Foundation for cancer research, and I also work at Bella Frutetta. And I'm trained to be a cook. And I enjoy hanging out with my family. Some of my hobbies are swimming and just hanging out with extended family and traveling. And
Yeah,
I'm interested in this position because whenever something like a decision happens or event happens, I always wonder like how this decision happened. And I'm interested in how the communication works and how like discussions work to make a final decision. And I'm interested in the leadership role and learning more about like my community and the Franklin Park.
So what would be the, what do you like the most and about this community, about the Franklin Park? Or
I like how everyone's friendly. Like you go to T-Bones, all the people that work there are pretty friendly. Place I work, Bella Frutetta, their family business. They are really nice. They know my family for a long time. Also I feel like there's a lot of events happen like neighborhoods, like whenever my neighborhood I live in Gray Oaks and we have like garage sales and then the all neighborhoods are really kind of connected. I like that part of it.
Was all your education at the Winchester Thurston?
Yeah, I'm attending there this year. But I attended NA.
Okay.
so you attend a lot of like a program related to medicine and is a medicine like your future plan or something?
So my mom is actually a physician. She's an oncologist, so she introduced me to it. And yeah, I really enjoyed medicine. That's why I did a couple of the internships and then one residential, which it was very engaging and I learned a lot. And right now I'm kind of in my interests are in sports nutrition because one of my hobbies is cooking and I like the cooking aspect and the food aspects of nutrition and then how it works for your body and an athlete. And like if you have like a big lineman football player, their nutrition will be very different from like someone who plays golf. I'm very interested.
What questions do you have for us?
What benefits have you seen from a junior council person in the past?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, so, I say just like, it's always good to have like perspective outside of like the main RV screen that's being blended. It's also good to like, hear some perspective from the youth, the growing population, you know, some of the things that we overlook, that might be important to their generation. primarily, like, we focus a lot on the operations and efficiently running the borough. There's a lot of, a lot of time talking about stormwater, pipes, you know, roads, that kind of stuff, you name it. So it's important to kind of like make sure that we don't just come back to the previous whole other aspect of the community, which makes Springfield Park great, which is recreation, green space, and, you know, livability. So it's good to get it. That's what I've kind of seen in the, you know, areas of council from our junior council person. They've always, each per council person has done, the junior council person has worked on a project a year, past year. We had one that worked that created a community garden, who had the park, that's plot, grow vegetables, fruit, and it's actually still going on. It's successful, that's something that's kind of unique. It's very popular with all the residents, another meetings, care about foods, done again for children and hospitals. So these are impactful, it's good to kind of see that other perspective and, you know, things that like balance it out, the other part is the road, you know, now the maintenance operation. Anybody else want?
I'm just really impressed with the community service. Oh, it's filled with so many good things. The Miracle League, that had to be particularly challenging, I would think. So, and also, I would think it was one of the most beneficial things that you did too, I'm guessing at that. But tell us a little bit about the Miracle League Association.
Yeah, that was definitely the most beneficial community service I did. It was actually very fun because I did it with friends and they, we each, me and then another of my friends, we working with this younger kid and he was just very happy to play baseball and learn baseball. He was very happy that we were teaching him. And whenever it was very nice for me to see whenever he got a hit, like he hit the ball and then he was very happy to run to first base. It was just very I like being able to help him and then see the excitement.
Good
How
for you.
excited he got.
Good for you. Does Berlin still participate in that? Berlin?
I don't know.
Okay. Just wondering, because I have a nephew there, and he has special needs, and I'm just really appreciative of what everything you're doing, especially in that. The Miracle League is one of, and I haven't been there, it's a miracle place, actually.
Yeah. Everyone was helping everybody, even the kids we were helping, they were teaching us some things. They were telling us, the kid I was helping, he told me a lot of interesting facts.
Right.
So I was amazed and we had a nice time.
Thank you for everything you do there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions for us?
I think probably know how it works. Yeah, it was inside.
But
we meet twice a month, first and third Wednesdays, and we figure that if I have to usually on Fridays, it's not as bad. But what for your schedule?
Yeah. Sports are usually, for me, baseball is right after school, and then games are just Monday and Tuesday for high school section games, and then rugby, we usually have a practice Monday or Thursday, and then tournaments on the weekend.
Wednesday's a sweet spot. I didn't sort of, really is.
I would love you. Well, I mean, we hope, the biggest thing that engaging to learning opportunity, hopefully there's others or something, positive and out of it. So good to kind of be able to do. That's me, I think it's what happened.
I have just one more question.
Yeah.
Do you guys do any events for veterans? Because I have a lot of family that's in the military and we're are veterans now. And I just didn't know if you guys had any events to I was just thinking a possible event could be like a luncheon or a brunch with veterans or current personnel in the military and just the community gathering and just learning more about veterans and Franklin Park.
You do a veterans brunch at the activity center.
The mayor's real involved in that.
Yeah, the Veterans Lunch, we do it every Memorial Day. Well, Memorial Week, at least on the Saturday closest to Memorial Day, we honor our veterans. We actually have World War II veterans still living in Franklin Park that are over 100, some are 105 years old. And Tom, I think you even know one of those very close.
We have one right up on Cole Road. I live at the bottom of Cole Road, but up on the top, 102, Howard Piper. And, you can, just saw him at the polls last 2 weeks ago.
With his wife, I was there with
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, he's in Merchant Marines in World War II, so. I think we have several others, the Howards.
One of those, there's about 3 others that are still over 100.
We did the council. Howard's here. Remember, that was a year ago.
Because I'm interested in learning about like veterans and what they did in the past, and I know a lot of my friends are interested in that too.
Any other questions for us?
That's
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for your interest.
yeah, thank you for
coming
having
out.
me. And
We'll talk soon.
nice to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Ben.
That was a lot.
Mhm.
Would we be okay figuring this out in 2 weeks, so we're not rushed? Yeah,
No, the choice is clear. Wow.
yeah. It may not be a good idea to wait too much longer beyond 2 weeks, because might be, unless we write everything down. But if we wanna set some time aside on, the 18th.
Yep.
Discuss it and then kind of vote. Let's go from there. Whatever, everyone.
I'm not hearing that. So
Oh.
2 weeks,
We'll decide in 2 weeks.
you decide.
yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to like rush the votes.
Mull it over.
No, no, no.
Yes.
Yeah,
My,
going. Good break, good break.
We'll take a break.
Yeah.
For like 5 minutes, long time.
Yeah,
Harlan, welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the king.
Solicitor had a grant from that.
I did, I was wondering when, we saw that CC, I saw your name in the email.
these kids are amazing. Graduation. I don't know how they have been.
Your son's record? Okay, yeah. Excuse me for that. So now, Lebanon, right?
Last week, yeah, I was live.
It's in the backup schedule.
I know, right?
45 degrees.
Yeah,
You were sick. And we know it's like 3 hours before. For Sunday, there's like 3 slots.
Well, Sunday's supposed to be okay.
Did Seth give you a report?
Yeah.
For all week. I thought
Yeah.
was gonna.
Okay.
yeah.
Likely there's not much we can do about that, but it's crazy.
Yeah, that is,
10 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, yeah, very alive.
Saturday and Sunday one would be, it wasn't gonna hold.
Yeah, I don't know what, I can't really be done. Yeah, I don't know why they chose to do that
No rain on Sunday.
near a residential community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't think I had an ask for you, so I don't
It
think
is
we have
what it
any
is.
notification of that at all.
I don't remember seeing anything, no, not that I get notifications, the only ones I get are through, Reed or Gary, and I didn't see
You
nothing.
always see some percentage of that, right? So for the percentage that.
Did they finish it? Is it done, or is it done now, or is it gonna, okay? Yeah, it's with Steph, yeah, commenting on it.
That means 80%.
That's one way to look at it.
We can't help that.
Hey.
Dr. Lee? Luke, got me.
I took your job.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I did want to open it while we were.
My job.
And last time we keep giving you so much.
Just the national. She hides the upper bad ones. We're not allowed to keep it.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So sorry about a little delayed, detailed stuff going on, that was pretty good. So on to, the agenda, so old business, first item that's carried over is, fee and lieu recreation, aka the free space fee, so read, thank you for the analysis. The council, you should have an updated spreadsheet, which has a summary table and cost sale and AP. Well, I think everyone has it right. Right. So I think a month ago is when I showed that infographic with that slide, showing what it should be based on like the fee going up by CPI. So Reach, you calculate this based on like the actual raw data. So it looks like it's based on the CPI every year. And 3640 number that's set back then in 2016, that's like in 2024 to 4863.
So it's about $1,200 at
About $1,200 difference.
residents. More than.
Okay.
I believe Max said that we can go ahead and adjust it for the CPI for all those years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Remainder fee structure, like
yeah, well, the question would be, I think, when you want it to become tax.
ASAP.
So typically,
Like in 2 weeks.
yeah, typically, like July 1st, for example, like if you vote on it in June.
So you have a fee, you have a fee schedule,
Right.
and you've got to update that fee schedule to reflect it, so the question is, you know, what do you need to do? How much notice do you have to give to amend the fee schedule? And do you want to do that in the middle, you want to do that in the middle of the year, or do you want to wait till the end of the year?
I think council does, based on new developments. It's not an issue for us.
It's done by resolution.
Right.
Okay, so you don't have
it's
to
not an ordinance.
advertise, it's not.
Right, exactly.
We have done it, in the middle of the year for other things in the past.
Tim, you think it would be okay, Tim, 2 weeks?
Yeah, my other question is what about the, commercial?
Will this cover commercial?
That's a whole different.
Is commercial adjusted by CPI or not? Or you're not? I'm not. We're not.
We should probably take a look at that, to see what's in the big book.
I was wondering why you had that up there.
It's gonna be in a subdivision ordinance, I guess, is where it would be. I mean, that's, subdivision land development ordinance, where the. I can do it offline, but I'd like council know what I find, and then,
We can do the resolution, joint resolution.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we can discuss it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And actually, this is good because another thing that we do need to do desperately, because we're getting a beaten on this, is we need to increase the fees for, zoning variances and conditional use, applications, because we're losing money in this on that. All the other municipalities. A lot. We make a recommendation that we can close to actually, I've been tracking, basically, from my understanding, we should be splitting the cost of the hearing for zoning variances, for appeals, or things like that. And we're not even close.
So,
We have a solicitor that goes to those things, that write all that stuff.
well, we have,
Be afraid of.
the zoning hearing board has a solicitor, and then the planning commission has
Right.
that, and then Max, obviously, so that's, we will simply be a number change in
Yeah.
in the resolution.
Yeah, the intent of those fees is not to make money, but to cover costs, so we need to address that.
It's not a profit margin, but it should be a loss.
Just said that to me, Tim, in one point.
So just be careful when you're doing that. There's some things that you can get reimbursed for as part of that. And there's some things that are not includable in that.
We'll include Max on our correspondence, to make sure he's on board.
Yeah.
We always.
Because a lot of times I know a lot of councils try to recover the cost of the solicitor's fee and court reporter's fee and I don't think that those are recoverable. So just say, check with Max.
We'll let Max opine on that.
You might have to build in a buffer, is that, are you saying when a community builds in a buffer, should it be to kind of assume some of those costs, that's.
Right, you can't, again, you can't charge them to get reimbursed for certain aspects of that.
Yeah, so no direct passing on the cost.
Okay, but if the
But
fee is.
but we stated on average, this is what
Yeah.
it costs. the
You
borough
can have an application fee,
For the personnel and.
right, you just can't get reimbursed specifically for those direct costs.
And yeah, line item.
But
Yeah, got it.
you can find other ways to.
The overall.
Oh, got it.
About it.
So we're not losing.
We'll include that as well.
And that might actually curb some of the ridiculous applications that people make, because, I mean, some of the stuff that they ask for is just, well,
There's actual Max, we want a resolution to increase the fees for both the,
Residential and commercial.
residential and commercial,
Fee in lieu of recreation.
fee in lieu of recreation
and zoning hearing board and conditional use applications.
Just want to make sure everyone's clear. The intent here is to cover our costs, because we're basically subsidizing the applications right now, and the borough is losing money. For each application.
This is a money making, and like I said, as I understand it, we should be sharing those costs. I mean, the zoning hearing board does have a solicitor.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be paying fully for that. I realize that our solicitor may not be able to be paid out of that if they represent us or anything. I would think that the court stenographer would be able to be shared in cost too.
Yeah,
Plus rental of the room, I mean, just, air,
That's overhead.
light, overhead.
Those, our taxpayers and residents are paying that over.
And again, in most municipalities, fees stay the same for a lot of years, and fall way behind. Then you suddenly play catch up. So things like using higher.
Yeah, it's that way we don't have to not let it scratch.
Even ones that aren't CPI, we should be looking at all of our fees every year anyway.
Instead of having them just sink to the.
I think we're okay on all the other fees, but those two are definitely need, definitely need some adjustment.
The residential number is 4863.
Yes.
Sort of look at that. And then we'll figure out the commercial. It's caught up, but.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, are we good on this topic or?
Yeah.
Okay. On to new business, reviewing the agenda for June 18th. Obviously, we don't have these resolutions on there, but we have everything else. Harlan, do we note in here or? I know we both.
The home rule charter presentation and, yeah, that's all.
So,
What's the home rule charter presentation, Mr. President?
yes, so I do want to talk about this for a few minutes.
Thanks.
So let me know what your thoughts are on this, but it might be good to have maybe a slide or two or three that kind of explain the background. And actually it could be used based on information from our website. Couple scenarios maybe, if that's permissible, maybe not. But also the timeline, that's kind of what I was thinking. The Quaker Valley School Board, for some reason, I'm on the side of the borough, they get all their mailings, so we get their calendar, but we also get like updates on they're trying to build a new school over there.
Yeah,
They sent this postcard out that basically has like a footpath or a road or something, and it talks about like where they are, process. So something like that, just convey where we are in the timeline and what to expect.
so it does take a lot of effort to discern what's going on
Yeah.
in the process. That makes sense. Yeah.
I put together a slide. Would anybody like to present?
I want to see it before
Okay.
presenting.
Yeah, I'm okay walking it through.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we can talk beforehand.
Yeah.
The days beforehand. Actually, probably will go to the shirt, not- I'll present it.
I'm good.
Next, we'll talk about the legal aspects of it.
Okay,
No, it's fine. Just
Yeah,
what you
so-
find.
so hopefully that can just be like a small discussion. Just the fourth now, so I can try to get stuff out, something out about like in a week. I'll send it to like us and then include that as well.
And I said you're gonna, this will be introducing portions of that movement.
Yes.
Yes.
For timing wise, we gotta get that done. So this is a good benchmark for that.
In that presentation, that's where we're gonna take questions and answers also.
We could,
I think we
We should,
should, that's
yeah.
what I've been telling people.
yeah. Yeah, we'll take questions. If we can't answer, we can take it offline
At what point will we?
at the end. Yeah, maybe like walk through the slides, explain it, and then have like Q&A at the end, so we can document it.
At the end of the meeting or at the end of the presentation? Gotcha.
Yeah, if it can't be answered, or we can probably do a more detailed discussion, we can at least document it and
Perfect.
get back to.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a approach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that works great.
Yeah, one thing I failed to mention in the previous, we have a rule charter, I just want to make sure everyone's aware. If a rule charter is put on the ballot in November and does not, it fails, the community cannot do this again for 5 years. So you are barred from, any good bars you trying to do it for 5 years,
So this football, if it's fumbled, it's over. Game's
for
over.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, let's see, anything else on the agenda or we're good?
Just quickly mention that, we have on there the Arley grant, there's a maintenance agreement that we had passed a resolution for, a maintenance agreement with PennDOT, that we need to submit as part of our application. And, PennDOT did come back and say that they thought it was a little bit more money than they would normally give out, even though it was a project they thought was worthy. So we agreed, Sean and I talked, and, we are letting them know that, the municipality will pay 20% of that total cost. I'm not picking up the 80%. So that's the 77,840 is the 80% we're asking.
That's a little before we spend on what we can pay or.
Reach, where, I see you listed the streets where that was earmarked for. And the reason I asked about coal, not only do I live in it, but I know there's problems at my end and on the top.
It's Chief Leach who's looking places where we're putting these signs. So if you question where the sign's gonna be placed, Chief Leach.
So it'd be one on coal or two, because I know that we got that resident up at the top.
Yeah, they requested a lot of my data. They requested, crash data, JMO data. I provided them all of that information. And then they actually will decide based on that, the location of the devices. So I didn't say this section of Cole Road or that section. I provided them all the data I have, and then they'll say whether or not this location meets the criteria for that or not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There'll be some kind of analysis to figure out the best place to put the stuff to,
Yeah.
to mitigate what's been going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max also mentioned we might have two conditional use applications to consider in that meeting. One, okay. One, yeah. Okay.
Okay, anything else on the agenda? Okay, should go into support from staff, engineers, solicitor. Okay. Harlan, anything?
No, it's just what I've already mentioned.
Okay, inner finance. Anything?
That happened to me at nothing to do.
We're still having a financial mid-year checkup next month, right?
One of my, report, we had a busy couple of weeks, with that storm cleanup. It was pretty hectic, a lot of trees and wires and quite a few places. I think there's probably still a few wires down some areas, but, after we get done with that and we get, back to cleaning up on, mowing along the streets, when the mowing along the shoulders, grass gets to be hot along them. We started crack sealing in quite a few different areas, throughout the borough, and we keep doing that, along the way there. And the only other thing I have is, looking to try to get this paving scheduled, so, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have the paving set up for over King Williams and King John's and all those, streets over the plan. So it'll probably go, it's gonna probably, we're gonna have, try to set it up in like two phases on it. Or we'll do like King James, the back portion, and then work our way down to, King Williams. Bring all the traffic out that one entrance, so we're not running heavy trucks on Sandhurst, and that's where all the different sheds. Other benefits, that's all I have. Questions?
How's Settlers Drive looking back there now that things have calmed down?
Settlers?
Settlers Walk, yes, so.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's just areas with, cracks, I mean, we can't do it all because there's so many spider cracks in different areas and stuff like that. To get it all, you're talking about the cracks on that part of it there. Haven't heard nothing else, nothing, those last meetings, people complaining about it, but,
Once you guys crack Steve, like you said, solves a lot of the problems.
Can we publish this list somewhere of the projected projects for paving?
the streets.
Yeah.
That was in the budget, should have been in the budget, all the streets were in the budget.
Right,
I
we
think
don't,
it's somewhere.
okay,
When we make our final decision, we put it on the website and send out notice.
okay.
And the people who live on the streets, we send letters.
Yeah, we'll send letters out there to all the residents, probably at least a week ahead of time. Donna usually, it's all packed for everyone, sends them out, so.
I have some questions on the salt contracts, that might be a conversation more for back. Come on, can we talk about the salt contract?
Ask me later.
Okay, well,
What do you have in mind?
there are two sections I had a question on. Section number 1, the seller agrees to supply and deliver. Do you know if that's talking about deliver, actually physically deliver, or just make the product available? Because there's a,
That's delivered by truck. That's, the salt price per ton is what that's what we pay for them to haul it us. That's for
Okay.
the salt and the truck.
do we usually, I noticed further down, there's a different clause, if there's a different price, if we pick it up, do we ever do that?
No. Now, because some of the places, like if you, Morton would be over, on the other side of Monaco, or if we were dealing with, American Rock Salt, they're out of Bell Vernon, so, I mean, it would, for us to get out there, the cost to travel out there and get it, would be pretty costly for us to do that. And the only time you'd ever get cost being had is if it was a, disaster where salt was so hard to get that we would have cost being able to go get it.
Okay.
And we've never run into that as well. Years, 3 years ago.
And then there was one more reference to a fuel price adjustment clause. That I didn't see that, I assume that's in the bid document somewhere?
I assume so. This is through the North Hills Council of Governments, so all the municipalities are part of this project.
Right,
And there's always a fuel escalation.
oh, I'm sure.
Of course,
I haven't-
does the risk fall?
Well, I just like. the
Oh,
way
it never falls on.
Yeah, right.
Right,
But
Right, I was just like, since it's referring to a clause,
So, yeah.
I wanted to read the clause, and kind of incorporate it in the contract.
We can get a copy of the contract for you.
Great, thank you.
That's my legal opinion as well.
Thank you.
I think the fuel prices falling this year though. That's going to be a positive. That's to see how it's more, right, we need to see how it's worded.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
We have, three zoning hearing board applications for this month, one's for a front yard variance, Winchester, the other one is a use variance at Rochester and Reese Run. We're all aware of that one, and then, there was a chain link fence, that somebody wanted to put in their front yard, but, today they actually, I discussed this with them a little further on and decided to do something else, so they're gonna withdraw that application, so just two of them. And then the planning commission, one new application, so.
What do you think about the submission for the Rochester and Reese Drive? That was pretty good submission. It's got any shot at it.
Well, you know, this zoning hearing board is different than past zoning hearing boards that have approved these variances, so. Well, I don't know, I don't know, I'm not gonna, I am not gonna take a bet. You know, if they can show that there's, you know, property doesn't have any value the way it is for any type of use, and there was an attempt to sell it, I think, you know, legally, there's some stamps that they can grant a use variance, but I mean, that's just insane, what this, look, the four attorneys on the zoning hearing board, and it's always Capata make that decision. So sometimes their points are interesting. So I don't know, I don't know which way to go. It would be interesting though. I'd like to see a little coffee shop standing shop there. I think we'll get it, but we're getting those things in a different story. That's all I get.
Notice of violation, just one.
Anyway,
On the list, there's notice of violation, the aging notices of violation.
well, I have everything before the magistrate, and I don't know what, people must be on vacation because I'm not getting any hearings.
That's consistent with my experience.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, I mean, we had a hearing this morning, and then I have one scheduled for the end of this month, but I have dozens of civil complaints and on-traffic stuff, so nothing's happening.
I filed one Friday before Memorial Day, right? Yeah. And it's not, is that your experience too?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, all right,
Everybody must be on vacation and
that's fair, okay.
or ignoring.
Your graduation. Okay. Thanks.
Zach.
You have my report. We start summer camp next week. We'll go 10 weeks straight this year. We're not taking off the week of July 4th because it falls on a Friday. So we will run a Monday to Thursday camp that week. We have 5 weeks of sports, 5 weeks of eco camp. We have a week of flag football and a week of lacrosse this year. So adding more camps again. So, and then festivals at the end of the month. I'm a little busy. Use it now.
Yeah, the Parks and Rec committee meeting at 6, and most of you were there. I did take notes on those, so we got research this. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, my report. I wouldn't have much more to add. That's the full questions. Yeah, our summer helps for the parks is most of them, two more coming, so hopefully get a little more, some projects done, with more help with mowing and other small projects.
Did you tell us earlier how many people are registered to play for the golf outing?
They were just set out, so as of right now, there's only, we have five groups.
That's separate from sponsorship.
Some of the sponsors get the foursome, so yeah.
So that's inclusive of
Yeah.
sponsorships.
The other thing I add is obviously that we need the golfers. Fill out sponsorships. We did get another lunch sponsor, came in today, which helps. But even if something is, if you know, if you work with companies for the Chinese auction, obviously the better baskets we have, the more people are willing to spend on trying to win things. And, we go around and ask locally, some of the businesses local, but Reno's way to get something donated, tickets, Pirates, Magnum Steelers, something, we'll put a packet together to help draw. We honestly don't make that much money off the actual golf. Everything comes from sponsors and Chinese auctions and 50-50. So the better we can have that, the better chance we have for money for the scholarship.
It's competitive, it's a chance to be matched.
That's
We did mention that, yes.
First thing you mentioned.
I'll give you the number next month. That'll be the final push in July meeting. So.
And, if anybody was, the golf package form, there's not a few days, right? It's,
No, but usually the second week of July is the latest. We have to give the club a final number. We could always tweak one or two, but we can't tell them 80 and then bring 30 more or less. So, 100 golfers is that magic number that we at least get to, but beneficial for Cranberry and for us.
Thank you. Do a report from last week. I think biggest update from the report is Acorn Park. I think council's aware, we get a notice of violation from Conservation District. We've provided, the report says we're drafting response was provided last week. Part of that response will be a revised permit application. We also had some changes to the plans to some of the trails through the woods. We no longer need some of the stormwater BMPs with the plans. We're going to take those out, cost savings in the permit renewal. Revised ENS plan will be done this week. We're going to coordinate with independent contractor. They'll have that this week. We'll put the revised ENS controls in. Reed, Zach, and Elka from our office met to do a walkthrough last week. Concepts developed with the contractor. So that'll get buttoned up, and I would say probably 2 more weeks or so, we'll have a revised, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have a revised permit application. So, those are the big updates there. So pushing towards closeout, resolving the NOV, Clover Hill Club, Clover Hill Golf Course exterior renovation. We got some information back to the contractor. They didn't send us enough copies, so we need additional copies of bonds and stuff. We'll circulate contracts, probably pre-construction next week or 2. Once we get those back, roof replacement project will open at the end of the month. And for construction activities driven by, you've probably seen activity, Deerfield 2B, started earthwork. They're going to start infrastructure this month here. So, proposing their contract back and forth with a handful of questions. We have some Middleton, so we will see activity there. They start to, that'll be the last phase of infrastructure there. We'll see that over the next couple of months there. They were hoping to pave all and some.
Part of Lake is underway, at least to some degree.
Yes, yeah, same thing there. They're moving along. Same thing there. We've reviewed submittals for them. No infrastructure work yet. They've got some much work to do. They're probably optimistically on the same line. Their paving may carry over, but if we get the weather. Questions?
Any questions? Thanks.
You have a copy of my report. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question. What's SFST training?
Standardized field sobriety testing. Yeah.
Thank you.
we're gonna-
Yeah, I think, just Gary's taking around. Speaking.
We'll be put on that. Everyone else,
I have one question
yeah, Laura.
for Andy. In your, report in the packet, there, we had a mention of sign updates. Yeah, and provided a section of the ordinances that you were referring to.
Oh, yeah, yeah, when looking at, couple different ordinances, things. Yeah, talking about some modifications, but I don't remember. the specific part.
It's just that your report just said sign update, so there were no particulars.
No, just on the radar, that was fine ordinance. Max actually said, we may be outdated with some of our things in there that we may be trying to enforce something that we can't really enforce. So we need to sort of look at the entire sign. It's on the radar, just not to go, we started the process.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Okay, on to, manager reports. Do we,
I'm working on it. Okay, he wants something that I can't really give him, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it, because I think I can. Enable. I thought he doesn't give up. No. I should have given him.
Right.
okay, so now updates.
Oh, chief.
Chief. Hey, Chief, sorry.
Consider chief.
We're getting somewhere.
Oh,
Just this last one.
yeah, we'll be quick on this.
Chief,
Sorry.
chief, probably second.
Okay, sure. I should have ran for the doors. I know, right?
So this is in response to a email from a resident in Summers Walk. They're asking if we can install, but place, I guess place, temporary speed humps seasonally. Not for the winter, you can take it out, I guess, summertime. I've seen these. There's probably different kinds. I've seen the ones where you run wires underneath them at trade shows, but others where there's like really small rubber. So just want to get your thoughts on that. Have you?
I have to say that if that's something council wants to now consider, better get a big inventory because every neighborhood in Trenton Fire is gonna want.
They're gonna want them put in, and then once they put them in, they're not gonna want to take out. Because I'm out in the economy, and they did speed humps on, they fought for speed humps on the road out there. Once they got them, everybody hated them, and they were trying their best to do whatever they could do. It's, and then, like, as exactly what Reed said, we'd have to have a big quantity of them, because guarantee you'd be putting in a few bucks.
Well, but how long did it take before they decided they want them out again?
Oh, it wasn't long. They were fighting that, and now everybody stays away from the couple roads that they have them on there. And then the residents that fought for it sit there and say now when they pull up to them and they go over them, they turn around, now they're mad enough at people going over them that they sit there and peel out after they go. So it's creating, other problems too.
So you don't need a big inventory, you just need to put them in and wait for them to ask for remove, and then move to the next neighborhood that wants it.
Well, first off,
Seriously.
how do you do a temporary seasonal speed bump? How do you do
They're
that?
plastic.
What's that?
They're plastic.
Plastic, different size.
Oh,
plastic.
yeah.
But
They have different like.
But it's already been stated, these things, people don't like them. Maybe some people do, most people don't like them. The biggest problem you have with these things is they cause damage to plow equipment
And emergency vehicles.
and emergency vehicles, and they slow emergency vehicles down.
Yes.
We're going to an emergency, whether it be fire, whether it be police, these things slow you down, and that's what you don't want. That's where I'm at.
Okay, so I just want to provide devil's advocate here. Counterpart. I was gonna send an article, maybe you'll read it, but better not do that. So in New York City, about 25 years ago, there was an issue with, and they came up with a ruling. Basically, ambulances were flowing through red lights, and actually pedestrians one or two that got killed as a result. So they kind of analyzed data over time and basically found that, forcing the ambulance to stop at a red light, not wait until it goes green, but just stop and then proceed. It did add 60 seconds to, potentially 60 seconds to the trip. I'm not saying this is a red light, but what I'm saying is, yes, it will slow an emergency vehicle down. Question is, how much? Are we talking 10 seconds, 30 seconds? But with regards to plows, this is seasonal. It's summertime only. Like, it's not during the winter. And I do want to throw that out there.
Well,
As if it's just to
but
consider.
the emergency vehicles are not seasonal. But the police are not seasonal, the emergency
Understood.
vehicles are not seasonal.
Okay.
Are there alternatives to speed?
I mean, Settlers Walk already has those speed minder devices.
What's unusual, the Settlers Walk isn't a cut through or anything, so it's people living in Settlers Walk.
That
that
are
are
ready to
speeding.
through, yeah.
They have an HOA, they should be giving the way out to their neighbors, not the speed.
Had the same experience when the chief did the speed survey out there. The one place that the lady asked for the speed survey, next thing you know, all the residents are getting snagged, even with the chalk lines there. So,
And then the other comment was, if you put them someplace, you're gonna get requests for them lots of places.
Is the neighborhood paying for these, or is it the responsibility of the borough to pay for this? Like those people, the Sellers Walk has 6 of those blinking people inside. They pay-
I would think anything put in the borough road is gonna be the borough's responsibility. I mean, if you let, they pay for it, it doesn't matter, it's not like.
Well, there'd be different devices. Some of them have to where you'd have to mount they have a device in the road where they can anchor it to it.
Okay.
And then if you didn't have that, you'd have to drive pins into it. So now when you drive pins into it, now you're gonna actually damage the asphalt on the road.
Okay.
So, you know, if you pull them out, you have to repair them spots or move it to another spot. And I've seen them to where they've had them in places to where they, residents were going over them. Now they come apart or something happened, one broke,
Okay.
or kicked up out of there. The next thing you know, the cause car damage, and then, you know, you get, people will be coming back possibly with damaged cars and, saying, hey, that's your speed bump and it busted my quarter panel on my car or something like that. I mean, there's always different.
well, that's what we just local claims act is for.
But they should be the opposite. All right. I was gonna say devil's advocate here, they shouldn't.
It shouldn't be.
But, so I do wanna ask, okay, let's say, a neighborhood is large, like Sellers Walk, they have these, they have like, a common area of pavilion. And I know they use it a lot, they have like hundreds of people like that thing or whatever it is. Our neighborhood's allowed to, if a neighborhood wanted to request like a temporary, not for the season, but for like that event, like lay down like, what is our thoughts on that? I can't imagine anybody would speed with that many people around, but I just don't know.
You mean if there was an event going on?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like the YMCA has like events,
You
like.
still have to, well, I
That
mean,
would be, I would just say that would be a dangerous thing, because if you're not letting people know in advance that a speed bump's there and somebody appears one day.
Yeah.
Somebody hits it.
and there's always a possibility too that you would have to, I'm not sure what the legality of it would be.
Okay.
If you put those down, you might have to put signs in stating that there was a speed bump, because normally when you put the asphalt speed bumps in on the roads that they do with the asphalt, it has to have like a chevron style arrows that start from small to large, that goes up to match it. You have to have signs ahead of that stating that it's there. You know what I mean? Because there might be a legal,
Like North Park.
yeah, it might be a legal thing that the resident or somebody with the map.
That's probably in the PennDOT regs.
All right, so a lot of variability too.
You know, they have these over by the gun club, North Side Sportsman.
Yeah.
They didn't put them out this spring though, but they, exactly what you just said, Gary, they have the sign
Yeah,
there.
with the
And
chevron.
then they have the lines getting bigger and bigger. But for whatever reason, this is the first summer in like 4 that they remove them every winter for plows, but they haven't put them back out yet.
Tom, are these plastic or are they?
No, they were like a black rubber, but they somehow, I'm not sure how they attach. I think they pin them.
They pin them, they have to pin them to the asphalt,
They pin 'em-
because they'll move if not.
Okay. Okay,
Is that the private lane? You're talking about for all the way back in the back, where it goes private lane?
No, it's where it's Mount Pleasant Road,
Oh,
you
Mount
cross
Pleasant.
under the turnpike, and
Yeah.
right before you get to the entrance to the, where Northside Sportsman is.
I do. I'm not a member. or
But it's a
anything,
straightaway before you get right to the gate.
Yeah,
They have two of them, and they have the signs are still there,
yeah.
but they didn't put them in this year for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
I think, not that anyone asked me my opinion, but, I think time and place, the problem I see is that, in order to implement them, whether they're seasonal or permanent, there is a criteria that you have to implement of why or how you're putting them in based on data. So it has to be, we're only putting them on roads that obviously are borough roads, 25 miles per hour or less. Usually you have to have an engineering study done, so you have to pay for an engineering study for every one of them, but you also have to have a method for the community to request them. So now you have a process where they request, you pay an engineer to do a study to determine the grade of the road, how far from intersections, turns in the road, hills in the road, all the stuff that I can't do. And then, once the engineer comes back with a decision, you tell that person no, they have the right to appeal it as well. So now you end up in a court situation, possibly. So I think there's a lot more into it than whether or not it's seasonal or permanent. So that's my understanding of that. Anyway,
And that's consistent with what is required for stop signs.
sure,
As
yeah,
well, it's the same time analysis. You need to study those studies to be PennDOT compliant, to meet PennDOT standards.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty expensive from an engineer. So it's not as simple as you got one person or two people in your development and they want it. You can't just put it in based on that request. You gotta do the study.
You may respond.
Well, it seems like we're all a no on the speed bumps, but do we have any other solutions we can offer?
Do you think it's a problem back there, chief, from your experience? Have you speeding back in Tetler's Law? I mean, they have those speeding.
So as well. As noted by Reed, we get complaints in there. We actually have a resident who has a camera that is on their yard that catches an intersection where there is a stop sign. They're not PennDOT stop signs, and there are residents that live right up the street from him who never stop at it. He sent me videos of it. We've gone over and talked to these people and said, can you please stop at the stop sign? It is the community, it is the residents. Nobody is cutting through. There's nowhere to go. So, yeah.
If they blew through the stop sign, can they be ticketed? If like,
Yeah, but the problem is if it's not a PennDOT approved,
Stop sign.
So it's not enforceable. You get it for reckless, not for going through the speed, not for going.
Well, it depends. So reckless is never going to stick, unless there is some type of potential that someone got hit or had to jump out of the way, if there was some sort of, or an accident of some sort. You know,
how do you
So,
create?
so
Yeah.
some places will just do it as a deterrent.
Okay.
And they'll,
That's what they've done.
and they figure, okay, so we don't care about the revenue, we don't care if we get the money at the magistrate for the violation, we just wanna slow them.
Sounds like they have
You know,
done that,
so-
not effective.
But if you're
Well,
gonna
some-
do it, if you're gonna do it
Husband and
with
wife
the
that
idea
don't
that
stop.
you want it to be enforceable, the chief is right, you gotta spend the money. on stuff.
And it's a shame, right? Because I think the intention, to your point, is that they're saying we're all neighbors here, look out for each other, slow down, stop at the intersection. But then you have the neighbors who just, now whether or not they know legally they don't have to, and they choose not to, I don't know, but, yeah.
Could the neighborhood spend the money on forget about the speed bump, but the stop sign, which I didn't realize they put up themselves. Could the neighborhood now make that a valid stop sign by spending the money on the actual study to validate the stop sign?
Only if it proves that they can.
The borough adopted road,
I think
Yeah.
the municipality has. to.
It
yeah,
also has to meet all the PennDOT warnings.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't, or we would have put us up.
Is there,
probably not, probably be a yield if
Exactly.
anything, yeah.
Yeah.
we'll just make it contractual. You can change anything in an HOA agreement. So if everybody meets and says this is what they want, and including if you go through one of our HOA stop signs, you're gonna have to pay a fine. That's nothing to do with us. That's just the contract that they
Who's gonna
decided to
enforce
enter
that?
into.
A ring camera?
I don't know. I'm just saying, they can have a contract because they're an HOA, they can decide whatever they want the rules are.
Yeah.
That'd be, like if they, you know, in an HOA, if you put the curtains up in the wrong color, you can be fined for that. They can decide that's what they're gonna do.
But Brian, let's say you have a contract and someone violates the contract, is the chief gonna be able to go out and arrest them for violating the contract?
No, it's just it's a private.
So,
agreement.
No, I'm saying, but who's gonna enforce that?
The HOA, how many fines do you want to get for going through it?
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so.
They're not even really talking, from what I can read, about an intersection. This is realistically probably more on longer stretches of straight.
To try to slow it down. There aren't that many, really, are they? Trying to think of it there.
Southers Walk has a few, yeah.
Peddler's Walk. There's some long stretches in there.
Yeah, Southern Drive, Holmes Drive, Holmes drives along it.
I don't think a stop sign would solve the problem that we're looking at anyway.
But you gotta have an intersection.
Okay, so. We'll respond. You know,
So I
I mean,
can't help you.
yeah, well,
I don't.
we'll figure out a response, okay. Okay, so I just bring it up because there's other neighborhoods that potentially want this, and just what is the standard is it? In the borough?
Lucas Road residents have asked for these for years. That would be horrible.
Yeah, there's no way an engineer study will allow, there's rated that road to put speed humps in there. If you wanna let them know, they can contact us and we'll do what we can. I mean, I'll send officers over there to do posts, I'll put the JMR up, I'll put the red speed trailer over there, which is ironic, we put it in one road and, somebody must have got annoyed with it at night flashing, so they went over and shut it off. So we found it turned off. But yeah, we'll do what we can.
Wow. All right, I'll let them know. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Gary, Chief, thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, great.
Have a good night.
All right, have a good night.
See you.
Okay, right, first pilot. So greenways, trails, recreation program grant application, veterans trails, bridge, and Blueberry Hill Park.
I sent along, copy of the grant application, we applied.
Okay. Yeah, we got the brick around, right? Like a read.
Yeah, Reed would call me and say one thing, and then he called me 5 minutes later, I talked to DCA again, it's different this time. And he told me, "Oh, well, no, it's fine."
You see them paying Friday, so, okay.
Yeah, we applied that, we're good.
Okay, home rule update, so. I think we're good on this, I'll get you all the slides next Wednesday. The material, just let me know your topics. If you want to present with me, that'd be awesome.
I'm up for any kind of good, you know.
Okay. Reports from council mayor, what do you want to do first?
I don't think I have anything else.
Me neither, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, nothing fun.
Nothing from me.
I have two things.
Yes. Perfect.
I sent everybody the email today about the blood drive, if we're gonna do a blood drive. So if we would decide on a date, then I would follow up and do what I need to do and work with Reed on setting something up. But right now, we're looking at, if we'd like to do it, if we do wanna do it, then we'll up with the date and I can move forward with getting it done. That's one thing, that's one thing.
Okay.
Well, wanna talk more on that one or just move on?
No, how soon do we get a date back then? Probably soon? Do they book
That's
up?
fine. How best we do that? How best maybe in 2 weeks we can make a decision.
Do we need to weigh in on that, or you just want to pick one?
Just need to pick one.
You and Reach.
Yeah, from our point of view, we'd have to check with Don and see what the schedule looks like for out there. But I would guess that since they're talking about it during the day, a weekday would be fine, since we're here anyway, and we just make that available to them. So For me, Monday, August 25th, would work just fine. As long as the room isn't being used.
Or you mean try to set it actually up for that date, on August 25th, the blood draw?
Yeah, we'll check with Donna tomorrow and make sure nobody's booked it on that day, but seems to me that would work for us.
Okay. All right, all
Because if they have any issues they need to address, we're here. So,
okay, then let me know then, is August 25th okay if we decide on that at 7:30? Okay, the other thing is, last night at 10 o'clock, PennDOT set up a huge operation right at the Sandhurst Pike of High Street, Sandhurst in Rochester. And they went, and it wasn't a quiet operation either, and they went till 2 o'clock in the morning. And people around there know I'm the mayor, so I'm getting phone calls, what in the world is going on, there was racket and lights, and they were actually redirecting traffic. So I went to my senior officer, was on duty, the Seth, and he went over and talked to them, so what they were doing is they were on that curve there, there's a blind curve there. And they were putting something, they was spraying something on the highway to make the curve, to make it not so slippery, I guess, I don't know. But they were doing one side of the highway 2 hours. And then they did the other side of the highway 2 hours, and whatever they were spraying was not quiet either, it was noisy. And so they were out there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Dennis, I think that's something that must be a new standard, because on Sunday, 3 days ago, we drove from Wexford all the way to Harmerville on 910. Every bend, my wife said, what is this? They've coated you know how 910 bends, it goes over the turnpike about 5 times? They had done that for every curve all the way from Wexford to Harmerville.
It's just like a gritty surface, or?
No, it looks like, it's not real gritty, but it definitely, and it's a different color, it's like a light buff color.
I thought it looked like, because I noticed it this morning, I thought I was asleep driving home yesterday, because I'm like, I didn't notice this yesterday. But it almost looks like a tar and chip surface without the chips.
Without the chips, yeah.
So it's just.
I'll look at it, that'd be the same thing, because Cindy said, hey, what the heck is that? Every bend, and I looked at it, sure
They
enough.
did it on 2 sections of Rochester.
Oh, did they?
There's another section a little further down they did as well.
Did we get any notification?
no, usually PennDOT notifies us when they're doing things, so it might be that it just, something freed up and they just had a break in the weather and just did it.
Unfortunate timing.
Yeah, I mean,
They're done as far as you know?
Maybe they wanted to get it done before they closed Rochester further in.
That's possible too.
They closed it at
It-
Big Swickley Oakmont Road for obvious.
Yeah, they must, it must have been something where I mean, they always give us advance notice when they're gonna do work.
Maybe
So
that.
this must have just popped up and they just did it.
so can we say, you know, it's created some problems with people, think? Disturbing the mayor till 2 o'clock in the morning.
They'll try to go back and say, well, they try to do it when there's less traffic on the road because that's a lot better than stopping traffic during the day.
Okay, so anyway, normally we get notified on second,
Yes,
so this had to be something that,
something that they just
Out of the
need to
ordinary.
deal with.
at least I brought it up, talked about it. Did my duty. That's it.
Nothing that I can't deal with over email.
I'm good.
All right, sounds like we're good, so should we go to executive session?
Yes.